You bring your phone everywhere. Work, school, the movies. Now you can bring it to an Xfinity store for an easy way to switch to Xfinity Mobile, a new kind of network designed to save you money. You can get up to 5 lines of talk and text included with Xfinity Internet at no extra cost, so all you pay for is data. It's never been easier to switch to Xfinity Mobile and keep the phone you love. Click here to see how. Sorry, I gotta take this. Restrictions apply. Limited to select mobile phones. Requires activation of a new line of Xfinity Mobile. Up to 5 devices per account. New Xfinity Internet customers limited to up to 2 lines pending activation of Internet service.
Are they going for blackface? Like, that thought occurred to me while watching this movie.
And also, we wouldn't be surprised. We wouldn't be like, oh, no. Blackface in this movie? We'd be like, oh, right. They got blackface in this one. Good. It's here.
Logical next
Look,
step.
oh, I got Christian movie bingo. Yay, blackface.
God awful movie.
Welcome back to the GAMcast, where each week we blaspheme the shit out of another selection from Christian cinema in an effort to disprove religion through a simple lack of brimstone. I'm Noah Lugeons, which apparently I've been neglecting to mention, and sitting to my immediate left is my good friend Heath Enwright. Heath, welcome back.
Thank you.
And sitting 989 miles to my right is my bad friend Eli Bosnick. Eli, good to see that you managed to free yourself from those nipple clamps in time to join us tonight.
I had to chew my way through my right nipple, but it was worth it.
We've all been there. And joining us for the first time is stateside Australian comedian, podcaster, and special guest masochist Nick Morganmore. Nick, welcome to God Awful Movies.
That's my name. And that's a catchphrase I do on another podcast.
Now, unlike all of our previous guests, Nick, you knew full well what you were getting into when I asked you on the show, and you still said yes. What gives?
Well, I'd actually already seen a bunch of the movies that you guys have reviewed so far. Some of them back when I was a true believer.
You're kidding me, really?
Yeah. The first of the Left Behind movies they played in my church when I was about 16 years old, and I was like, "Wow, this is terrible! Like this is what we have to deal with. Like they in the world have movies that are actually good, and we have this crap." Okay. So yeah, like I'm happy to come along and yeah.
Awesome. Now, of course, the main reason that we wanted you on for this particular movie is that, like the characters in this movie, you're in the midst of your first experience with the American South. You just did a benefit in Montgomery, Alabama, correct?
Yes.
So before we even get into this movie, I'm dying to know, is our racism and general lack of dental hygiene all it's cracked up to be?
Look, I'm from country Queensland, which is like the Australian version of the Bible Belt.
Gotcha.
That sounds like the name of a country that someone made up in a last minute under torture. It was like, where are you from? Country Queensland.
Yeah. Exactly.
Staplevania. Stop shocking my balls.
Yeah, I'm from Townsville.
Yeah, that's the answer
Queensland.
someone gives after being waterboarded.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was the question again?
Well, okay, so I have a new question. Other than the lack of like man-sized scorpions and dinosaurs that spit venom at Seinfeld's fat neighbor, what would you say is like the biggest difference between Australia and Alabama?
That's a big ask. But I've got an answer. Okay. So the urinals, when you go to take a piss, right? Mm-hmm. The urinals are all below knee height. And I'm like, the fuck? Right? I mentioned it to someone. I'm like, your urinals are too low. And they're like, what are you talking about? Where would you put a urinal? And I'm like, dick height. right at dick height, or right below dick height by like an inch. Like, if you put it on the ground, you're getting splashback.
We swing mad pipe here in the States, bro.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Wait, you have to understand that we're so lazy in America that we prefer to just stand there and slowly allow ourselves to pee on the floor. So if the toilet is the floor, it's as neat as it's going to get.
That makes a lot more sense. I mean, it reminds me of when I was in China and the toilet was literally just the floor.
Yeah, they have those too. All right, so without further ado, I guess we should get to this week's movie. Heath, what are we breaking down today, bro?
We've got Brother White. It's about a white pastor from Los Angeles who moves to a poor neighborhood in Atlanta so he can save a bunch of black people from themselves. I'm like 90% sure the original title was Brother White Man's Burden. It's would have been a lot more descriptive.
Brother White's Power.
Right.
Yep, brother white supremacy.
Take up the Brother White Man's Burden. You got
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Might as well have been. So, Nick, I'm going to give everybody a crack at this one, but you're our guest, so you get first dibs. How bad was this movie?
This movie was so bad that if I could watch The Human Centipede on repeat for the rest of my life instead of ever talking about this movie with anyone, I'd just do that.
That still is an option. It's not too late to turn back.
I mean, I could.
So he's like seriously contemplating it. And obviously, like, it's already come up, but the movie really starts being racist in the second word of the title. So I think we have to hit that topic right up front. So Heath, I'm going to change the phrasing for you a little bit. How racist was this movie?
All right. Well,
You have an Australian and you ask somebody else about racism. Come on, guys.
Yeah, they
Like,
still
we're
keep their
literally
people in the
murdering
bushes.
brown people right now, okay? Like, the reason that I fit in since I came to the South is they're like, you're from Australia? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, good job murdering all those brown people.
Thanks. Kiefer Sutherland did a great job. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really, he's sort of a national. We watched with that clip where he shoots the kid in the back. Is our national anthem. Everyone's got to sit through it.
He's Canadian.
yeah, this was pretty brutal. I'll put it this way. I fell asleep watching this movie the other day, and when I woke up, Netflix had auto-played Birth of a Nation.
Yeah, right.
It's a very, very racist movie. It's kind of like interracial porn if there was no sex. Just great acting.
Right, exactly. Just the setups of interracial porn is what this whole movie is. That actually makes that would make this movie make a whole lot more sense.
Like, there's total, like, I've got a point in my notes for later on. We'll get to it, but yeah, like, there's things going on behind the scenes, guys.
Yeah, this is, I will say, of all the movies we reviewed so far, this is the easiest movie to jerk off to. There's a lot of scenes in here where you're like, I should be jerking off. Yeah. I know.
Or at least I
when
should be getting ready. At least I should be getting some lotion and some tissues. Yeah,
Right,
exactly. And Eli, so compared to like War Room or Mein Kampf, where does Brother White fall for you?
Well, I'd say it's definitely more racist than Mein Kampf. Because Hitler was just sort of starting out. War Room wise, I gotta say, I think it might be more racist than War Room because War Room is racist because you know it was written by white guys. But I think having a white character or white characters who react to black characters with hatred and disgust puts a whole new spin on the racism thing. Because sort of the meta story is like, ugh, gross.
All right, well, there's definitely a ton of frantic amateur scripting, bafflingly melancholy performances, and grossly anachronistic stereotypes to get to. But before we do that, we're going to take a richly deserved break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into all the insanity of Birth of a Nation 2, Brother White. It recently came to our attention via a polite but critical review that was removed from iTunes for abusive language that our show, while retarded and pointless, is nevertheless unproductive, immature, and gives atheists a bad name. We also learned that fuck you and your podcast. But after deeply considering the meat of Mr. Attack Eyebrows' critique, namely that our podcast is, quote, like people who hate math trying to make sense of mathematicians, end quote, or, if I may paraphrase, like people who are really bad at analogies trying to write an iTunes review, we realized that our show probably could benefit from a more diverse vantage point, which is why we scoured the internet this week to find out what other people had to say about Brother White.
Buxter Meister Brow says, very well done. Any Christian film with Reginald Val Johnson is bound to be good.
Erica leaves a 5-star review on Amazon and says, this movie is also a good movie.
Patrice was a bit more stingy with her stars. She only offered 1 and said, do not buy this movie. He makes jokes about ushering in the presence of the Holy Spirit in the church service. This is an offense to God. Our God's presence is sacred. I was completely outraged and threw the movie away.
Patrice strikes me as like the 8th comment down on an Amazon review.
Right.
The least amount of downvotes. Rotten Tomatoes says, there are no critic reviews for Brother White. Keep checking Rotten Tomatoes for updates.
Oh, by the way, there's also no user reviews if anybody watched along and wants to vent.
We also have a review from Cappy, who wrote, "We have enjoyed Brother White. The humor begins when Brother White's wife is named Lily. So Lily White accompanied her husband to an all-black church. Lots of humor. Cue hilarity."
And according to Bill 1988, "Are you over 13? What? Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. It's a Dove approval movie for all ages. Yes, I am over 13. It is a grot movie. I have seen many of their movie. Their name says what they are. Perflicks."
Doug had nothing but good to say about this 5-star review that read, "Item as advertised."
And finally, Angel, via the Christian Movie Database, had this to say. "I'm watching this movie, and they don't even go to ATL. They just go to Inglewood. Because my grandmother lives down the street from that church."
So now that we've dedicated a few minutes to considering a broad spectrum of opinions, I hope it's clear to everybody that even though we're atheists, we can review this horrible, wretched, racist, deplorable, boring, abominable, amateurish piece of shit objectively. And we're back for the masochism portion of this evening's events, and we're going to start off by meeting our protagonists, a married couple played by real-life husband and wife David A.R. White and bitchy atheist lawyer chick from Do You Believe? And we're going to meet them in the most superfluous, look, here's some human scene that you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, I literally wrote in my notes, "We're a family. Look at how we family. Family, family, family."
That's about it.
It's not that there was no establishing shot, it's just that, like, there was 1 second of establishing shot, and then, oh my god, look at this white family.
They're so white. And I also noticed that there was no production company logo at the beginning of this movie.
It
started.
It started so abrupt. It was just like, movie!
So abruptly. Like, this is a city, these are humans, go.
Right. And the writers just seem to have no sense of, like, you know, that there are, like, things are supposed to happen in scenes and that there's supposed to be a reason for each scene to be there, because we're just like randomly getting, okay, so here's some people and they're getting dressed and now they're in a car. It's like listening to a 5-year-old tell a story, but he doesn't know which parts are superfluous.
Yeah, exactly.
Like an example of the writing in this movie, they're in a car and the daughter goes, "Are we there yet?" while playing on her phone, and the dad just gives her a look that just says, "I'm fucking you behind the scenes."
So again, I know that we've had a meta commentary throughout this series about the atheist writer in the room, and he's really, really present in this movie.
Yes, he is.
At the very beginning, he goes, "Let's go learn about God," and the kid goes, "I want to learn about baseball." And I was so expecting for the kid to go, "'Cause baseball's real. Like, I can see baseball and touch baseball. We all frown on it when baseball rapes someone." I mean, like, we don't stop it, we frown on it. Like, ooh.
All of this that we're talking about, we're not even a minute and a half into the movie yet, because I have a note that says, 1 minute, 33 seconds. My girlfriend told me I can't pause it every time they say something dumb, because we won't ever finish.
It's true, you'll spend the rest of your life.
You'd be about 8 minutes in at this point. And it's funny because, okay, so he gets to his job and he works at this mega church, and it occurs to me that for some people in the universe, you know, that's not terrifying and awful and horrible. Like, you know, I have to keep reminding myself, like, for the people who are watching this movie, when you see him go into a megachurch, you're not supposed to go, "Oh, okay, these are the bad guys."
Right. Exactly. It's so terrible. And that was a big problem. We'll get to it. But a big problem I have in this movie is I'm not sure if I'm supposed to like or dislike certain characters. Because I'm like, is he bad? I feel like he's bad.
Not clear at all.
Have you guys seen the television show Reaper?
No.
Okay. I watched it. Very clever writing, very enjoyable, loved it. The pastor of the church, Kingman, played by Ray Wise, he plays the devil. So as soon as this guy walks out on stage, and he has the exact same mannerisms, speech patterns, the exact same lines. I was like, holy fuck! Fuck, Noah! You tricked me! You told me this is a shitty Christian movie, and now I get to watch the devil torture and kill this white family. Thank you so much!
Happy birthday!
They booked the guy from Big Ass Spider. This is awesome.
Yeah, he's also the least memorable bad guy from RoboCop.
Yeah, this is the snuff film that David A.R. White died in. We got it together. Thank you for your Patreon dollars, guys. I know we haven't been saying but it was to kill David A.R. White and his wife, and we couldn't have done it without you. Oh,
can we
coming for you, David? Kendrick Brothers, coming for you next.
$800
There's a
on
Kickstarter
Patreon,
that would
guys.
fund overnight. Take that, Neil Gaiman's wife.
Yeah.
Anita Sarkeesian ain't got nothing on us. And we'd get less death threats. You want to murder someone, that's fine. Video games are a little misogynistic. Fuck that bitch! So I wanted to point out so we're at the super church, which by the way, I completely agree, because my notes say terrifying super church footage.
It's supposed to be a mega church. Let me just let the audience know. It's supposed to be a mega church, but they didn't film it in a mega church. So it's like a pretend mega church, which is what I went to when I was a Christian.
Oh, right.
And like the guy who's like pray, sing, talking at the audience, there was a guy like that who got stepped down because he fucked a bunch of teenagers. So like I was watching this movie with like a lot of nostalgia.
That's terrifying.
Oh, I remember him. He used to play Where Am I the Most Ticklish? So again, yeah, Johnny Kingman comes on stage, and I just have in my notes, Peter Popoff is the good guy in this movie. That's the level.
I wrote Benny Hinn myself, but yeah.
Yeah. Right. Oh, by the way, a black lady rushes the stage to shake his hand because this is totally not going to be an extremely racist movie, you guys. Totally not.
And again, this was not filmed in a megachurch, but we're supposed to be thinking megachurch, so you can see a lot of shots of the audience where it pans for like half a second and then it's over, or you can only see 15 people at a time.
It's like the Mets trying to convince everyone that they've got a full stadium now. It's like, oh, look at these fans lining up at the gate to get their tickets.
Be fair. They won the pennant this year. Give them a break.
Yeah. This is like the one year you can't really make jokes about the Mets.
They won their division.
They're gonna blow it. They're gonna blow it. The Mets fans know it. They're like a child kidnapper who lets the kid run out into the front yard and then electrocutes his collar. Everyone knows what's gonna happen.
A bunch of the seats in the church just have blow-up dolls sitting in them. Just a blow-up doll, just sitting, filling up extra seats.
Yeah, right.
It's like, hey, this isn't the carpool lane on the highway. Like, get it.
How did everyone have so many blow-up dolls? Oh, we're Christians.
Yeah.
Just come on now. Ashley Madison. So then Kingman gives this speech where he talks about how rich he is and how he was trying to count his blessings, but he lost count. Ha 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 ha. Hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's like, is it because I have a Ferrari? And so he's giving that, and I was like, this is what I was talking about before. Is this an admirable character?
Exactly.
I'm not sure. There's no denouement for this character where he's like, I don't know, I don't think I thought about Jesus enough. So either it's bad filmmaking and he is supposed to be a good character or a bad character, or he's a good character and like priests who have a Ferrari are a thing to look up to.
Yeah.
And later on, we find out that it's the latter. But I'm sitting there, like, right now going, okay, so this guy's, like, secretly fucking everyone's kids? What's going on?
Right. No, he's doing this whole humble brag about being rich, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, so he's like the anti-Jesus, but no, like, the movie postulates that this is the person that our hero wants to be. Our main character is aspiring to be like this asshole.
Right. All the way through.
Can we talk about the hero for a second? He's what's his name? David A.R. White?
Retarded Owen Wilson.
Yeah, I wrote Caveman Tony Romo, but yeah, got the idea. So he's the main character. Are we going to learn his name? Not important. For now, he'll be James Every White Man. Perfect. We'll just
like 18 minutes in, I think it was when we actually learned the characters' names.
Right. Can we make him look like Jay Leno fucked Pete the Puma? Yes, we can. But we will not be telling you his name yet.
And he's constantly covered in a sheen of sweat, start of movie to end of movie.
Yeah.
Can we just let the audience know that? Every time this guy is on camera, he is sweating.
Right. He looks like a Backstreet Boy that circled the Earth at the speed of light 450 times. He just can't, oh no, my birdie! And that makes my knees hurt when it rains.
Yep.
So now, and I guess he is like one of the lower deacons or whatever of this church, and it's his job to teach the little kids, I guess. Well, Johnny Kingman is fleecing their parents. So we then cut to him in the little kids' room teaching the kids about Noah's Ark.
And I'm like, who the fuck let Nickelback teach kids Sunday school?
Right. Look at this Bible page!
And now this is a scene. This is obviously another example of the atheist sneaking into the writer's room here.
Yeah, this I was just like, but there's gonna be a moment where this gets reversed, right? Because there's lots of moments in Christian movies where there's an atheist character or a secular character or whatever who comes forward and is like, how come your God watches while everyone gets raped? And people are like, go fuck yourself. And that's it. The movie's just like, great, what a great answer. No one ever thought of go fuck yourself before. Hi, you're a genius. But this was weird because the movie didn't address it. The movie usually at least addresses it with like, yeah, but a rainbow. This time the movie was just like, yeah, it's pretty fucked up, right?
Exactly. And I love that about it.
To give the backstory here, he's teaching the kids about Noah's Ark, and one of the kids says, everybody died and became bloated, floating corpses, and all of the children react with proper empathy and horror and disgust
Perfectly reasonable. Yeah,
to that story.
And he's like, no, kids. Fuck those people. fuck those people. That God said fuck those people. That's why he drowned them all.
But apparently this is a horrible thing here. So, cause his boss is going like, hey dude, can't you teach kids about global genocide without, upsetting them? So apparently this is just supposed to be an example of a whatever kid's pastor doing a bad job because the Bible is fucking horrible. Is it his fault that the Bible's horrible?
Can I teach from a different book? Maybe that would help.
Well, they point out that it wouldn't have been that bad, except that the week before he was trying to explain where Cain got his wife from.
Right.
So, I can only imagine what that Sunday school would have been like, where he's like, so Cain didn't have a wife, so he just dug a hole in the ground, and he just fucked that hole in the ground every night. And God was like, oh no, it's really sad that he's fucking the ground all the time. There's a hole full of jizz, and that's not good. So God came down and he just gathered up all of his dirty jizz mud that he'd made in that hole, and he used that jizz mud to make a woman for Cain to fuck, but she was ugly, so Cain murdered people.
All right.
The prequel to this movie was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Now, kids, take your crayons. I want you to draw a jizz mud hole. What would that? Man, everyone wants to use white and brown crayons, huh? Why did I even bring the 64 pack?
It was at this point in the movie where Zandy was like, fuck it, I'm out. And so I had to watch the rest of the movie in 5-minute chunks while shitting over the next 3 days. So, I had diarrhea, so I got through it. It's fine. And I'll tell you, I enjoyed having diarrhea more than I enjoyed this movie.
Exactly.
And we missed a scene. We missed the first time that he was a cunt to his wife. So he's unhappy with his wife, and his wife just goes to him, well, be grateful that you've got a totally sexy wife. And he's like, oh, I can't be grateful. You're my property.
Right.
Yeah, you have to.
And also, I'm a closet homosexual. I have no idea what you disgust me. Your body disgusts me. I usually have a mouthful of vomit when I put it in you.
I thought it was really interesting, the incredible lack of chemistry between these two actors.
And they're married in real life.
Exactly.
That's I found that out, and I'm like, no way.
Right.
Their poor marriage. Her poor dusty vagina. I mean, that thing is new, still in box.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an unwrapped action figure.
So,
waiting for someone to play with it.
So
I'll play with it.
You can have it, sir.
And then this scene, we also meet Aziz Ansari's dad, who is... I don't know what this character is supposed to be. He's supposed to be like Hollywood, so he's bright orange tan.
I put him down in my notes as smarmy embezzler because I was so sure this guy was going to be the smarmy embezzler. And
no, and that's
things
again
in this movie don't actually eventually, makes more sense than they did at the beginning. Yeah, it's not that kind of movie. I wrote down Toad from the first X-Men movie. That's
very good. Yeah,
I have him as Muslim Paul Giamatti with a rug.
You win.
Not bad.
So now our hero, and I'm not even going to mention him by name because the movie hasn't named him yet. So our hero has gotten in trouble because he upset all the kids and tried to explain where Kane's wife came from. So apparently he's now been bumped down on the list of who gets to pastor when or whatever, and he's very upset about that.
Yeah, he's 28th on the list.
Yeah,
which is crazy. But again, here's the thing. I don't know how megachurches work, so a part of me was like, is that real? Because I don't know what's a movie and what's real. So I was like, are there 28 people waiting to preach? We had like a rabbi and a lady who would just serve cookies when he was sick. I don't understand. That seems like a lot of organization for everyone playing pretend. This is like if you went to play house as a little kid, but then you applied for a mortgage. Like you weren't just like, you were just like, okay, so you need to fill out an I-9 form quarterly. It's like, well, wait, I want to just, when am I the doctor? No, if you want a doctor, you have to take all this pre-med. Sit through a biochemistry lecture. That's how 28 pastors sounds to someone who hasn't been a part of that culture.
And I guess what we're supposed to be seeing here is that the hero wants to be like a wealthy, well-to-do pastor, and the movie's kind of hinting at like, oh, that's like a bad thing, but the movie doesn't have the balls to say that's a bad thing. So, we're doing it through Aziz Ansari's dad / Toad / Muslim Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, the Arabic spleen from Mystery Men.
And that guy actually gives him some good advice, I think. He says, if you got this degree from divinity school, you're actually going to need something else. And that's true. You absolutely should also get a real degree in something in addition to your divinity school degree. That's very good advice to get an MBA or something.
Yeah, but there's, again, it's a moment where the movie wants him to be like, I got a degree in business, and we're supposed to be like, business. When's he ever going to use business? What did Invisible Jesus say next?
So, as if we haven't learned enough about how miserable our hero's life is, now we have to go meet his in-laws.
Right. So we come in and Grandpa is telling a gross story. He goes, it lays its larva in the skin, and everyone's like, nah, I can't eat while you're talking about science. Bleh. And so then he gives the grandkids gifts, and the storytelling of this movie, we're supposed to be like, stupid Grandpa giving gifts, but like, that's a nice thing for grandpas to do, is give their kids gifts. That's
right, but we're supposed to be looking at this through the lens of the dad that can't afford the gifts. I guess that's what they're going for here. And I also love that because they're trying to emphasize the fact that the grandparents are rich and everything. So he gives the kid a polo mallet.
Yeah, exactly. I like the Shining reference though. That was nice.
Right.
By the way, you can't play polo without also a horse and like 7 other people also who have horses. So it's kind of like, is Grandpa about to give them each some slaves too to play with? He looks like Colonel Sanders.
That's a scene that got cut. Carl Weathington Jr. was a real downer about the whole Grandpa gives you slaves for your birthday scene. I don't want to go into it. It's off-camera drama.
That's true, but he did give multiple iPhones, so he's like, a bunch of Chinese children died for this. Here you go. And she's like, I already got one that a bunch of Chinese children died for. And it's like, even more died for this
Hey, Nick, they're not children. They're full-grown adults. and they kill themselves because they're so unhappy. Get it right. Get it right.
How sweaty was everyone in this movie, by the way? Just
it was a theme of the film. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's like they all did a little bit of cardio before every shoot. It was like, all right, everyone, 10 sit-ups before we shoot. Not you, Carl. You don't have to. Good, I can't. If I lie down, I'll die. The weight will crush whatever skeleton I have. I'll dissolve into mush. Just a big pile of mush.
And again, because I guess because they're trying to beat us over the head with just how unhappy and unsatisfied with his life the main character is, Grandpa and Grandma start reminding the daughter, or his wife, about all the other guys who would like to fuck her instead of him.
Yeah, I have in my notes, remember how much those people wanted to fuck you? Fuck you so hard. Fuck you so hard. It's just like 20 minutes of conversation. If I went to Thanksgiving and my mom was like, well, I don't know, during freshman year of college, Eli was poly and he couldn't stop ramming his way through the NYU freshman dorm. I'd be like, hey, Mom, time to wrap it up. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and take your red wine and give you water.
Just like Eli used to wrap it up when he'd ram all of those dudes. And
no, I didn't.
I put down that
condoms are for sailors.
This is why every time I date a girl, I make sure that she's been excommunicated from a super religious family.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Hey, girl, before we take this any further, do you talk to your parents? No? All right. Let me just hit the Barry White. Also, there's a weird moment where, like, he's like, I'm a failure. And I was like, I'm on the side of Grandpa. He is a failure. Like, This is, Grandpa's obviously like, oh, you're such a failure. You're just a 27-string preacher at a mega church. And we're supposed to be like, he's not a failure. But he is, though.
Yeah.
But he is, though. He's a
sweaty, ugly
If we're using the supervillain school of success, which is based on money, he is a failure. And if we're using any other standard of goodness or helping the world, he's a failure.
Right.
There's no...
Like, this guy brought to mind a word that I haven't used in reference to someone for many years, partly because I'm an adult and I'm a comedian, so I think of like sick burns for people. But this guy was just a loser.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, he was just a loser.
And he continued to be one throughout the movie.
He never stops being a loser.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, spoiler alert, later on in the movie, he will be victorious at one thing, and it's pretty much just because they were like, David, you play pool, right? Like, that's, later on in this movie, he will win a game of pool. Everything else, he is the Mr. Magoo of the Christian, of the white man's burden.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this movie is like if Mr. Magoo, there had been a Mr. Magoo cartoon where he liberated Auschwitz. That's when it's just like, boink! I knock into the fence and a bunch of skinny Jews come hobbling out. And it's like, whoa! From the sound of it, those are deer escaping.
And so it cuts from that to him being a complete cunt to his wife again.
Yes,
yeah, and he's like, oh, maybe you could have been the property of someone who's more successful than me.
Yeah, I wrote in my, because he goes, you ever wonder what it'd be like to be married to a woman? And I wrote in my notes, every day, now I'm soaking wet.
Exactly right.
There was a thin coating of vaginal mist over the set that day, which is why everyone's so sweaty. Solved it. Good job, Eli. I win God-awful movies. The final episode. Which, by the way,
lily white vaginal misting.
To speak to how little chemistry they have, she turns to him when he's doing that, like, I'm such a loser monologue. She goes, James, honey, baby. And I just wanted her to be like, sugar, pony, fan. Just can't stop saying colloquial names until blood runs out of her mouth and she collapses.
That was, I mean, that's the quality of dialogue that we got in this movie, though. Yeah, he says, do you ever wonder what it'd be like to be married to a senator? And she's like, do you ever wonder what it'd be like to be married to a man who's married to a woman who could have been married to a senator? And it's like, oh, it's just fucking up, shut up.
And again, I was like, am I high? I feel like someone gave me PCP and was like, look at him, he's trying to watch a blank screen. Like I was just in the corner facing my dog's cage being like, haha, David, all right, you're never going to help the guy from Seinfeld get into the University for Hard Knocks. Boop, boop,
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to point out that the movie makes it very clear, at least on 2 occasions in the first 5 minutes, that he drinks water, not alcohol.
Yeah, which is very rude.
Yeah.
A, not Christian. B, very rude. The
Yeah, was
grandpa's
he
like,
Mormon?
how about some scotch or bourbon or something? And he's like, pfft, and then he's holding water. And it's like, oh, so we missed the scene where he was rude. Cause it's not rude to forget it if you don't drink. Cause you can be like, oh, no, thanks. But there's just like, blunk, we get a cut shot to him drinking water. So we're supposed to believe that he was like, fuck no, man. No scotch for me. And he was like, well, that's weird. Weird of you to say when you're in my home.
Later on, we will get to it. He's in a bar, right? And he's like, orders a water, and there's a guy having a drink next to him, and he literally drinks his water going, water, refreshing water. There's no alcohol in this. No way. Not touching any alcohol to my lips.
Yeah, they weren't exactly subtle about things in this movie.
To be fair, David A.R. White used this movie as an example of his sobriety for his DUI hearing. So they cut a bunch of the scenes
I can make
together.
a movie, and the judge is like, guilty.
Right.
Well, Your Honor, if you'll watch this montage I made, delicious water, huh? Even in the movies I don't drink. You killed a kid. Did I? Yes.
He didn't, by the way, in case anybody's wondering, at least as far as we know.
That's
for the
Caitlyn
reasons
Jenner.
of libel.
Caitlyn Jenner killed a kid. What? I used the right name. She killed someone with her car.
But if you're referring to somebody before they transition, then you refer to their previous, don't you?
No, they don't like to be
No,
dead named. That's dead naming.
Okay.
She killed someone with her car.
Let's make sure
Z is a murderer.
Yeah, exactly.
She
exactly.
murdered someone.
Yeah, she
Herself.
killed a person and then
It's
drove
her
away
fault.
from the scene. I understand. Yeah.
And then let's get back to the movie, because why
God,
the hell
guys,
not?
we're so PC.
No, we did that. We nailed that. So, anyway, so we cut back to the church. Now we're back at mega church, and we see that the guy's son is sleeping at church because Brother White Devil is a bad father. And so now we get, I don't know, we're like maybe 10, 12 minutes into the movie or something, and we get our second Johnny Kingman preaching thing here. And this is the most bizarre goddamn fucking monologue I've ever heard come out of a person's lips. Because he's talking about, like, take a swim in Lake U, climb to the top of Mount U. And I'm thinking, like, in any other context, that's masturbation euphemism, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's like, be the master of your domain. I mean, but apparently it's supposed to mean something else in this world.
They took this speech from the crumpled, thrown away notes in Tony Robbins' trash can. Like, so even he was like, I know I look like a giant monster, but I'm not going to get away with this.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to understand, though, that a lot of the time the preaching in mega churches, a lot of it could actually be euphemisms for masturbation. Like, very, very often. It's very heavy-handed. You know, they're not,
Heavy-handed could be a
about that kind of
euphemism
thing.
for masturbation,
Yeah.
too, now that you mention it.
Yeah. But that, like, seriously,
Especially
they're all
if
like,
it's Tony Robbins
the
doing
laying
it.
on of hands, and Lord, come and fill me, and it's like,
Yeah.
dude,
I don't think that's masturbation at that point. There's a
rivers
part
of
where
living
somebody's
water
involved.
pouring forth from your spit. Yeah,
And of course, I guess our hero, Pastor or Brother White or whatever, is so excited and so thrilled by this moving preaching thing that the guy's doing that he stands up to get all excited, but he just can't stand up properly, so he knocks some stuff over.
Well,
So once again,
I wrote down, like, because it looked to me like he was just trying to get off that damn stage. And so what I wrote down is, oh my God, I'm so sweaty, I need to change my shirt. And then he charges off the stage and kicks a hole through a poster.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and he ruins a cardboard cutout, and his line is, I can pay you back. I'm good with payment plans. And I was like, dude, cardboard cutouts are like $5, like $7.
Yeah.
How much does that church pay
you not
him?
have
Holy shit!
that money? Did you check your couch cushions? There's usually something in there.
Well,
Yeah, how much does that fucking poster cost? Years of payment. Is it made from Jesus's actual skin?
Well, actually, it's inconclusive. I mean, I'm the scientist who did the same thing on the Shroud of Turin, and you can't really say one way or the other whether or not it's made from the Shroud of Jesus. Really? All science says it's not the skin of Jesus. Okay, maybe. But on the other hand, look at this little old Italian lady. She swears that she can, I don't know. They're stupid. They get stupid as they get older. Am I right? Why don't you go fix some more paintings, Grandma? All right, I'll do this one. It looks like a monkey. Helping. Looks better now. Boop-boop-we-doop.
I wish we had a visual medium. So yeah, I'm sure in the script or whenever they thought this up, it was supposed to be that he broke something expensive, but they didn't have the budget to break something expensive, so he had to kick a hole in a poster, and we're all supposed to just roll with that. Oh, that must have been a really expensive poster, and he gets fired because of it.
Ish.
Well, he gets sent down. He gets sent to Atlanta, and there's this and again, we have this crazy moment. He goes to his family. He's like, there's this church down in Atlanta, blah, blah, blah. And they go down, and there's this moment that never gets resolved in the movie where the family's like, don't take me away from my life. I have friends here. I'm happy here. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, you love peaches. And that's it. It's just like, But I made him, when they sent him down, Anna, and I credit where credit is due, made a major revelation about this movie. This movie is The Sound of Music, except instead of children, it's black people. It's about a religious figure, and how do we solve a problem like David R. White? And so he gets sent to the place. There's even a moment later where he talks about his favorite things. This movie is The Sound of Music, but instead of white children, it's black people, and they have a concert, and they escape the Nazis. It all makes sense.
It's funny that you say that. I actually made the note from, like, as soon as he got to Georgia and his first interactions with black people, I wrote down, black people are still slaves in this universe. The civil rights movement never happened.
Apparently, yeah. Nobody told him about the emancipation thing.
Like, that's the impression that I got from him getting to Georgia.
Yeah, and by the way, you can tell you're in Georgia because Ladysmith Black Mambazo is singing to you everywhere you go. The music comes on. It's ridiculous. There's like elephants. It's a safari. They're shooting across Atlanta. They have no idea what Atlanta.
There's a monkey holding a lion cub up on every corner to the sun. You gotta wait until they're done with their thing. They get very aggressive.
And by the way, the reason that they know that they don't know what it's like in Atlanta, Georgia, is because they filmed these parts in Inglewood.
Right.
But, no.
But everyone watching this movie was like, sure, they're in Georgia. Look at all the... the black people. Black people. I said black people. I don't have to put $1 in the jar. No, I don't, because I started to say it, but then I didn't finish.
You have to put 50 cents in.
So he has to break it to his family that he's going to move him from hip, cool L.A. to shitty Atlanta, Georgia. Mom doesn't want to go, but she does what she's told because she doesn't have a penis.
Right, 'cause she's
Once
property.
again, we see him kind of just rolling over her.
Mm-hmm. But not literally rolling over her, because that would mean contact, and he'd have to go into the bathroom and think about Nick Cannon for 45 minutes. Oh, yeah. It's my dick in a box. It's my dick in a box. All right, I'm ready to go. Shut up. Don't say anything. Maybe don't shave. Maybe just let your leg hair grow out a little bit.
Like, the only time that he ever fucked her was through a glory hole with a picture of a dude stuck on his side.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe she wore one of those little fake
Ronald
Nick
Reagan
Morgan
mask.
Mustaches. Yeah, there you go.
Hey there, sport. Put a baby in my butt. God, if I had a nickel for every time I've done Ronald Reagan saying, put a baby in my butt. Oh, I need new material.
No, you don't, dude. That one will never die. So they go to Georgia, and apparently they arrive in Georgia via a prostitute's apartment or something. Because they're clearly not coming out of an airport. They're clearly not coming out of a bus station or anything like that. They seem to be coming out of the red light district when they get picked up by Reginald Vell Johnson, who I believe Eli's been identifying as Carl Weatherington or something like that.
Carl Winslow from Family
Well, Carl
Guy.
Winslow,
Yeah,
is also there, but we had a weird hybrid name.
He
going.
looks so terrible in this movie.
Oh my God.
I have pages of notes about his physical appearance. He's in such terrible shape that in this movie they shoot him like a pregnant sitcom actress.
Yes!
Like
yes.
when Lily was pregnant for How I Met Your Mother and she was always holding something in front of her, and the same with Rachel and Friends. That's what they had to do with this man because he climbed into a cloning machine at the same time as a bowl of pudding. Like the fucking fly from Jeff Goldblum. And he came out the other side and he was like, well, this is what I look like now. Oh my God, you're horrifying. Nah, it's fine. I live down south. I would say 1/3. It's always the extras. It's none except for this guy. It's always the extras in this movie, but 1/3 of the bodies in this movie are surrealistic horrorscapes. Like Salvador Dali.
Yes.
When it made BBW porn. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Oh yes, the women are big and beautiful, but they are also melting. His body looks like a fat woman standing backwards. That's what his physical form is at this point.
Usually men don't have a front butt.
And I want to point out again, like the where this movie was filmed, there's no, like Atlanta has buildings in it and shit, I mean, this is clearly not even like a remote analog to what Atlanta, Georgia, because they keep saying, oh, we live in the hood, we live in the ghetto and shit, but they're obviously not in a bad part of a city.
No.
Anyway.
The way this movie has defined being in a bad part of the city is that there are black people there. That's the
right.
Only,
yes.
Others in the movie were like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, oh, well, do you want to shoot this in the projects? No. We'll just put black people in it. They'll get it.
That's right, but this movie goes even further than that. Like, the definition of a bad person in this movie is just a black person.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They don't even go, there's a bad guy that gets introduced in a minute whose, like, only thing that he does bad is being a black guy.
Right.
And looking like Barack Obama.
Well, that's pretty unforgivable. But first we have to meet the most racist character in this movie who pops into the window like a fucking Muppet.
Yep. And gets more cartoonish from there. He pops his head in the window and is like, "Hi, everybody!" And then becomes more cartoonish from there.
Now you said Carl Winslow looks like he was put through the fly machine that Jeff Goldblum went with a bowl of pudding. This guy is just 2 bowls of pudding.
His name is Clayton Hamilton. He uses the word freezerator. And if I ever get crazy billionaire money, I'm going to replace all of the books on Audible with this guy's voice reading all of the books. You're a wizard, Harry! Stand Hagrid or some shit?
Oh, I would love
The meth is really kicking in, people. The meth is really kicking in.
Oh, it's also probably worth pointing out that this scene actually begins, because they're moving their stuff in, it actually begins with the wife telling 2 black men what to do.
Right.
As they bring
and as she's telling them where to move the couch, I wrote in my notes, do they have slaves?
Yeah, right.
Again, this world, slavery still exists.
Apparently.
By the way, fun game to play while we watch this movie. Try to learn as much as you can about black culture. So things black people do, according to this movie, climb in the second floor window of random strangers. So
that's one.
Random white people. Yep, got it.
One thing about black culture.
They also call refrigerators freezerators.
Freezerators, right.
They don't speak English very well.
No. Let me point out as well that this is a second floor. This guy didn't climb up to the second floor. Somebody let him down on a rope, okay? Because that's the only way this guy didn't die of a heart attack.
Mission Impossible swings right in.
Yeah, exactly.
Freezerator! Fucking crazy. Also, another thing we learned about black culture, they'll wear a cabbie's cap to come pick you up, even if they're not a cab driver. They just love to wear little hats. Little servant hats. Where's that commercial? Little servant hats.
It's going to be in the interstitials. So I I want to point out, though, because you guys keep acting like this movie is racist, but it's not, because the homeless guy is white.
That's true.
Yeah, but he's so dirty he looks black.
Oh,
He's covered in black dirt.
Yeah. Like, repeatedly, there was homeless people. I'm like, are they going for blackface? Like, that thought occurred to me while watching this movie.
And also, we wouldn't be surprised. We wouldn't be like, oh,
No.
blackface in this movie? We'd be like, oh,
Right.
they got blackface in this one. Good. I was waiting for this
logical,
day. It's here.
logical next
Look,
step.
oh, I got Christian movie bingo. Yay, blackface. Christian movie bingo. That's our next goal. Kickstarter. Also, I just want to point out how Christian it is to have a scene where the pastor is disgusted by the smelly homeless man.
Yes,
and then upon
Yes.
him touching his chair, he would rather give it away. That's the
Exactly.
Christian, that's the protagonist of this movie. I was like, oh, he's gonna help him. Oh no, he's fucking not. He's like, ugh, you touched my chair. Fine, keep it. And that is it. That is the only interaction he has with this homeless man, aside from making him pay full price for a ticket to a Christian
Later,
concert in the entire film.
In pennies and nickels. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's when we get to meet evil Barack Obama. I'm sorry, that's redundant in a Christian movie, isn't it? That's where we get to meet Barack Obama character, who is the black banker who wants to destroy this new church, or this old church.
So at this point in the movie, my brain broke, and I started telling a completely different story, where, like, this guy is the hero, and he's trying to save all of these homeless people in this neighborhood by tearing down a useless, almost empty church
He is
in order to
absolutely
build
doing that,
public
yeah.
housing. And this white guy turns up and uses the power of racism to block this guy's community project because it's much better to have a room to go and wish for things.
Yeah,
in.
exactly.
That's actually the movie
That's
we were
the-
That is-
watching.
that
this
is the
movie.
plot
Okay,
of this
sorry.
film.
I thought
what
my
happens.
brain broke.
No.
I apologize. I
No, you
I thought
you
that
just
I
accurately summed up
hallucinated
this film.
Yeah.
I
Described
wrote,
the guy.
he looks like Barack Obama if John Boehner had died of a heart attack in 2003. Just like very stress-free, very like, hey, how's it going? No gray in my hair. I've just been kept up doing a lot of basketball. No one's tried to stop me from running the government for 8 years in a row. I smoke
But I
constantly.
outlasted him.
So yeah,
Oh,
but
that's so accurate.
like almost every Christian movie, this movie completely transposes good guy and bad guy. So the guy his stated goal in the movie is to develop more public housing is the bad guy because he wants to put the public housing where this church that can't pay its mortgage is.
Credit where credit is due. He is introduced as just wanting to tear down the building. So I think I'm used to normal human movies. So I'm like, I get it. His plot's gonna be, we'll tear down the church and build a strip club or tear down the church.
Right.
I mean, it's better, but you know, something movie trope. We'll tear down the church and build a rape factory. You know, something like that. But he turns out to want to build public housing. Which is so fucking crazy. That's like if he was like, we're tearing down the church and building a homeless shelter, and everyone was like, oh no, a homeless shelter? Gross!
Yep.
What are they gonna do
Don't you
with
know
their
how
food
stinky those
stamps?
homeless people are? If they touch your belongings, they get to keep them.
Yeah, right. So then we cut to Pastor Honky, Brother Honky, seeing his new church and his new office, and this is where we meet this very weird character, Delcy.
Oh,
who was
Black
apparently
Jennifer
told-
Tilly.
Oh,
Yeah, I wrote exactly the
yes,
same.
yes.
Oh, Black Jennifer
I wrote
Tilly.
Black Jennifer Tilly is a raspy secretary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a darker Halle Berry with tuberculosis.
And if you want something to jerk off to in this movie, rock hard. You could hang a towel on me every time this woman was on screen. She talks like a baby that has throat cancer.
Yes, exactly. They told her to play
This
the part
girl
like
is also a professional dominatrix. Like, that's her other job. She's a secretary for a pastor, and then at night she goes out and beats men's testicles with a riding
Oh,
crop.
I
Awesome.
wrote, because she's afraid, when this character is introduced, well, first of all, he comes in, and Clayton is there again because we can't get enough of this character. He says, "How you whites doing? How you whites doing?" And I forgot that their last name was White for a second, and I was just like, "Whoa, movie too far." Then he steals the pastor's sandwich and leaves. This is
wait.
Yeah.
I made a note about that. I wrote down Clayton equals food thief. Usually I'd be mad at someone for that, but if the whites all starve to death so that this movie can end, I'll make him the biggest sandwich I can.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a pound of bacon between 2 loaves of bread.
Be like a fucking Dagwood cartoon.
Exactly.
Things black people do.
Yeah.
Steal sandwiches out of your hands.
So he goes
culture clash.
and he meets Black Jennifer Tilly. I don't know if she has a real name. First of all, she doesn't say her name clearly enough that I ever understood her name. It's like Desley or Dresley or so. I have no.
It's Delcy.
Delcy. Okay. Oh no, she whispers the entire film. I was too busy seeing furiously masturbating. But she is terrified of him. She is terrified of him. And like you said before, I think the last pastor did something terrible to her.
Right.
This is not the behavior of a shy person. I have shy friends. Yeah. They're just soft spoken. They're not like, when someone puts a traffic cone inside you, you end up talking this way.
Yeah. Yep.
Delcy, you've got to make it all the way down to the bottom if you want to get home. I didn't make those character choices. Blame this actress. And then get me her phone number.
So then we have to go meet the, or we end up going back to the church to meet Jackie, whose character I have no idea.
Is this the sexy child?
No, she's the one teaching the sexy child.
Okay, so this sexy child will come back at the very end of the movie, but I just wrote, this sexy child is gonna sing, so she does sexy child singing. This is a 13-year-old girl?
Yeah, let's say 15 since you've already described her as sexy so often, but yeah probably about 13.
Listen, she can be 12. She's a sexy child. She's singing sexy child songs.
Creepy Christian, pedophile grooming.
There's no way they were not like, hey, can we sex it up a little bit? If they wanted this character to be like an innocent child singing, they wouldn't have her first scene be her being like, put it in. I'm just saying, that's the first thing she's doing. She's like, and she's like, oh, your notes are so great. They're going to be so great for the church choir. And I was like, I don't remember the part in the Ave Maria where someone gets their fist inside themselves. Mm-hmm. At which point we are introduced to Willie, who introduces himself to A.R. White's sexy teenage daughter.
Yeah, Emma.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she wanted her some dark chocolate right away.
Right, which I thought was very strange. Listen, there is no question that if there are people over 50 who were a part of making, writing, or having anything to do with this movie, that they were against mixing the races at some point. So this is such a strange choice. My notes are so filled with don't mix the races based on this movie.
No. This is them overcompensating for that. They're like, no, we can't come across as racist. So, like, the actual line, the dad goes to the daughter and him, and he goes, you guys are about the same age, right? And then he just turns away because he never actually listens to his daughter.
No.
He only ever speaks at her like a complete asshole. He is an asshole to his daughter, right? So the line is, you guys are about the same age, but what he's really saying is, you guys should fuck each other.
You want to fuck my daughter?
Dude, can you fuck my daughter and film it on your phone and then send that file to me so that I can jerk off to, while I put my hand over her side of the screen while I'm fucking my wife, I can just look at you pumping and thrusting into something that looks kind of like my wife in order for me to get some inspiration.
See, Willie, it's like a mud hole. You know, I don't know if you've heard this story. It's like a dirt hole. You fill it with jizz, and then it turns into a woman. Hey, listen, I don't need to tell you about fucking a mud hole. Am I right? You're black. Don't mix the races. Let's move on. By the way, I call Willie throughout this movie Trayvon Martin. So
okay.
So Trayvon Martin comes up. Amadou Diallo comes up to Emma. There's so many names I can use. And one more thing. He says, he instructs Vina, that what he wants is some razzmatazz.
Yes.
He wants some razzmatazz, which is not only super duper racist, but it's a really horrible thing to watch those actors do, because you can see the black actress be like, razzmatazz, huh? Someone wrote down the line razzmatazz. Okay. Okay. Craft services, here we go.
To which she says, listen here, Wayne Newton.
The line that got cut out, she actually pointed at him and said, listen here, you nickelback-looking motherfucker.
And then David Enwright started crying hysterically, and they were like, oh, David, we're going to change the line. We'll change the line. We'll change. She didn't mean it. And he was like, blonde, frosted, tips look good, though, right? And everyone was like, they look so good. They look so good. You're like a rock star, but for Jesus. I am like a rock star for Jesus. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Who's a rock star for Jesus? I am.
So then we get our first shot of him pasting.
Right, and he introduces his wife as Lily White, which we talked about, that his wife's name is Lily White, which is horrifying. But he talks about it earlier. I didn't realize that. So I wrote in my notes, my God, her name is Lily White. Is the daughter's name Snow and the son's name He-So? Because then he... So he's trying to preach.
He's not even really trying to preach. What he says when he gets on stage is, hi, my name is Nickelback looking motherfucker, and I'm a giant fucking loser. Look at how much of a giant fucking loser I am.
Mm-hmm. That's what I hear whenever a pastor preaches, though, to be fair. Like, I can't
you can
do it smoothly.
That's a good call. Good call.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he cannot, in fact, get an amen.
Right.
Oh, and he's trying to be his own hype man. But he's so bad at talking to people on an interpersonal level. He's so bad at talking to his family. And he can't preach at all. Like, this guy has got serious communication issues.
Yeah, so he tries to fast, and it's really bad, and then so he's depressed again, and he goes to a diner.
The Silver Skillet. I wrote in my notes, it's pretty thug here at the Silver Skillet.
Yeah.
Right?
And, of course, at the diner, we've got a bunch of thugs chilling, like thugs do, and they come over, they're like, what the hell's a white guy doing there? So they go over to give him shit or rob him or whatever it is that black people do.
Yep, things black people do, intimidating white people at diners very menacingly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But here's the crazy part. They're trying to intimidate him, but all of them keep calling him officer and pretend like if they actually thought that he was a cop, they'd be the fuck out of there.
Right. More than likely, yeah.
Otherwise,
not according to theblaze.com. I don't know. I read a lot of theblaze.com, and it seems like black thugs like to start fights with from what I've read. Listen, I spend a lot of time on Donald Trump's fan page on Facebook, and it appears to me that what happens is they like to start fights, usually using their backs. They run away from them, and then they turn around and get you. That's when because you run away, you run towards them to help them. They run around and get you. It's a tackle. I can't describe it. I'm not super good at Krav Maga yet. I take classes on Thursdays, but I'm going to be, and that's when I'll be able to fight all the blacks. I wrote in my note here when they circle around him, I was like, I will not be able to continue watching this movie if there's a scene where he gets the shit kicked out of him by a bunch of black guys.
But if he did, how fast would he have his dick out? Like, that's the question.
Oh no, they're beating me up. I hope they don't rape me. And he's just pulled his pants down and laid himself out into child's pose. And they're like, hey man, what are you doing? And he's like, yeah, you're gonna rape me. No, man. No. No one has touched you yet. Oh, who pulled my pants down? You did. Why aren't you wearing underwear? Oh, I must have forgot, because I'm so rapeable.
And while he's doing this, he's actually pulling his ass cheeks apart, and it looks like his ass is what's
He's
talking
just
to
starfishing.
Yeah.
At which point we're introduced...
You guys would have made a way better movie.
Yeah, at which point we're introduced to Senyo Amawaku, who was criminal in Do You Believe? Yes. And in this movie is named Easy 8.
And actually, let me point out, this guy's acting not bad. Like, out of everyone in the movie, this guy I actually had a little bit... And maybe my brain broke again while I was watching this, but it seems to me that this guy is the hero of the movie.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah. Like this is a separate movie within a movie now, but like he's this main character who we find out estranged from his family and doesn't go to church, and so because of that reason, everyone treats him like a criminal, despite the fact that he does zero crime.
Yeah, he does zero crime in this movie. He seems to just watch the community and have like a neighborhood watch program that he's in charge of.
This guy is the most responsible, caring person in this film, and all of the Christians treat him like garbage.
And he has a business card too. Easy 8 has a business card, which he hands to him at the end of the scene.
Oh, you're a record producer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they produce records.
Also, I wanted to throw this out there. It's such a white fear thing to do to make him a record producer. That's such a criminals need a cover, and we all know that most rap musicians are secretly drug dealers, am I right? It's like, you know nothing about the music industry. If you had a music production conference, everyone there looks like me. They're like, Morty, how are you?
Yeah, right.
So proud to hear about Die N-Woods Die. You know, it's not our word to use, you know. Anyways, it's fantastic. Congratulations again. A mitzvah l'chaim.
Yeah,
man, I'm a record producer.
Continually, like, he's firstly a record producer and then a businessman, and it becomes extremely obvious to me that David A.R. White, the writer-director of this main actor of this,
writer-director star.
The person to blame
cinematographer.
For this piece of shit. He's completely missed the fact that this guy is the good guy. He's a businessman who's struggling to make his record label work while he's living in a place with a slumped economy. We know it has a slumped economy because of the high homelessness population and the need for new public housing. And he's just trying to get by. That's what this movie is about.
Right, but because he's black, he's just assumed to be a thug in this movie, and we just roll with that.
But not just because he's black. It becomes super clear once all of the people in the church are talking shit about this guy. The reason he's looked down upon is because he left the church.
Right.
He was in the church, he left the church, now they're like, oh yeah, he's a businessman. Like, that's the way they say it, and you're supposed to think, okay, they mean he's a criminal, but I was watching this, I'm like, they're just saying that because he's trying to make it on his own without them.
Right. No, that's, wow, you got like way deeper into this character than anyone involved in the movie.
I got extremely into this character. Wait until the end of the movie when I cry, okay?
His mother tells his little brother that he's dead.
That he's dead!
What a horrible...
Because he doesn't go to church. That's the one reason. He's been kicked out of his family because he doesn't go to church, and he's been treated like crap, and he's just trying to get by, and we'll get to what he eventually does later. But this guy has shown more honesty and integrity than any other person in this film.
And again, I think it's worth pointing out to the people who are listening that this is actually what's happening in this movie. This is the character that they're postulating, and they're not recognizing that that's a bad thing for the church to have done to this person. In other words, like, his story arc here, his character arc is to come back to the church so they can accept him once more.
Yeah, there's no one ever goes, I'm sorry for telling your little brother that you were dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, did we miss the part where he got punched by an abusive father?
Oh, we haven't gotten to that yet.
No, we haven't gotten to that yet. Don't worry. I have 85 pages of notes. I wrote an Anna Karenina-sized novel of notes about that scene and how this movie handles it.
Oh my God, that was so fucked up. So yeah, basically, so Carl Winslow comes in and he goes, "We believe in you, person that we just met yesterday. You can do it, even though we've seen no signs to indicate that you have any kind of acumen for this type of job."
Though, to be fair, part of church is believing in things that there's no evidence for. So he's he's just business as usual.
That's the only thing that he has down. He's got no speaking ability. He's got no personality. He's got no intelligence. He's got no substance. But yeah, he can believe his ass off about some stuff that he has no evidence for.
There's this moment where he goes, that is, if we have time, and he was talking about money, but in my notes I wrote, is that because all the blood is chapped in the bottom half of your body? Yeah, old heart can't pump anything to the top half of my body anymore. If you could squeeze me like a Galoopa-Goomp that you buy for 7 tickets at the arcade, that'd be great. Who can hold on to Carl Winslow? I miss Bruce Willis. We used to do sit-ups together. Are you Bruce Willis? No blood in my eyes anymore.
No.
By the way, they say they're behind on the mortgage. Mm-hmm. First of all, black people can't get bank loans for mortgages. That's ridiculous. But if they could, things black people do fall behind on loan payments.
Yes. Yeah.
And they've created a conflict, just like in movies.
Right. And now this is where we come into the come across the child abuser that shows up in this movie to just
abuse a child without consequences?
Yeah, exactly.
Is the end of that sentence abuse a child without consequences? Because that's what happens in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
He's shaking his son and yelling at him. And then, first of all, this actor is the worst actor in the film. There's a lot of bad acting in the movie, but he reads his lines like there are cue cards written on David A.R. White's eyelids. Yeah. And he's like, hey man, stop blinking so much. You don't tell me who to do that. Do that. So then he's like, don't hit your kid, hit me. So he punches him in the face.
And, like, this is one of the times in the movie where, like, there is a little bit of, like, reflection afterwards. And so he's just sitting down with, like, a punched face, and he's like, yeah, no, that's right. I should just ignore child
Yeah,
abuse.
the other characters are like, what are you doing, dude?
Sorry, my bad.
Let people hit their kids. Have you read the Bible, man?
Yeah.
None of your business, bro. Was he using a stick bigger than his thumb? Is that what's going on? Was he not hitting him hard enough? Were you like giving him wrist advice? Cause you gotta flick your wrist out. That's it.
Yeah, well, as long as the kid recovers within 48 hours, he's
exactly.
good. He's good, according to Deuteronomy.
And if you think we're ever going to go back to that child that's being abused,
not really. No.
We're never going to talk about child abuse in this movie again. We're gonna talk a lot about mortgage law, not so much about child abuse.
Yeah, we're gonna just kind of leave that one hanging open. So so they're trying to figure out what they can do to fix or to save the church. And I love they have this discussion about how much they owe and how much they make and everything like that. And I just wrote in here, I was just let's add banks to the list of things this movie doesn't understand.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, we've got a mortgage, which means that once a month we have to put all the money in a bucket, and then they come and they send a horse which eats all of it. But if it doesn't poop out 4 pounds of money poop, then we're gonna go under. They're gonna take the building.
So they go to skinny Allstate guy to see if maybe they'll extend the loan or renegotiate, but he won't, because the last thing banks want is to resolve financial problems.
Yeah, I wrote Juice Fast Trevor Noah doesn't want to help the church. He wants to help the people who go to the church. What?
Right.
Yes, correct.
So he basically, bad Barack Obama says, well, we're going to do it anyways, at which point a melting pile of snow cone explains that the church is go fuck yourself, blah, blah, blah.
Well, he says, I'm tired of talk. And I'm like, you were at a meeting with a banker. What did you expect, anal?
Right, I mean, exactly. I was expecting that you would just be like, fine, you don't ever have to pay your mortgage. That's how mortgages work. Red stamp.
So Brother Honky comes up with the brilliant idea that they can save the church if they have a concert. But first we've got to get to the billiard showdown, because
how many times did he sink the red ball?
Yeah, this is
because I think he only sunk red balls. Like, what game were they playing where he keeps sinking a red ball and then pulling it out of the pocket and then putting it somewhere else on the table and then sinking it again? It's like, it's a game that he made up. That's the only reason that he won. He's like, would you like to play a game of pool as to whether you stay in town or whether I help you out? And he's like, yeah, but the game we're going to play is called Fiddly Waddle Woes. And all we do is sink red balls. Woohoo!
Yeah, these people have never been inside a bar or seen a pool table once in their life. They to get into the bar, you have to climb over the pool table, first of all. And
right.
I think it's because they're terrified of real bars, so they had to shoot the scene inside a storage unit, which they did for several other scenes too.
And let me point out, this is one of those scenes where he's drinking water going, water, yay, I like water. Water is so good.
Also, he's supposed to have swept the table, which is a thing that you can do in pool if you're you're playing with someone who doesn't know how to play. But they do it in this movie again where not only does he hit the red ball twice, which is even numbered if you know anything about pool. Then he hits 2 odd numbers. Then he sinks the 8 ball while there are still even numbers and odd numbers on the table. So I have no idea.
This is what I'm saying. He's playing Tiddly Widdly Shums, which is an entirely made-up game, and that's the only reason he won. And this black guy, Easy 8, is playing along because he's like, oh, this guy's mentally handicapped. Oh, I'm really sorry for the way that I treated him earlier.
Yeah, right.
I better be nice to him, I suppose.
Well, I also want to point out just how fucking bad at pool was this actor, because every shot that they show him making while he's running the table, the ball is like hanging halfway off the fucking...
It's already in the pocket.
Basically. But still, they don't use him to make the shots. They're still using someone else. They don't actually show, except for once, him making a shot. And there are all these like ridiculously easy shots.
And that shot where he made the shot, he's so sweaty. You know that this is the 50th time he's tried to hit that fucking ball.
There's an actual action shot where the cue ball's not involved in a shot he makes. There's a cue ball sitting still on the table during the shot, and he's doing something else. No, I'd never been to, like, the racks and octagon. They had never seen a pool table before.
Yeah, this is like when you watch people play chess on TV. And they get the 2-move checkmate. It's like, checkmate. Really? How did he move his king off the table and get up and leave? Where the horse moves forward 8 paces. Check, kingmate.
Except in that game that you're proposing, Eli, he doesn't go and grind up against the other player at one point.
He's just trying to even the odds. He's trying to convince him to rape him again. Oh, maybe you raped me. Oh no. Maybe I beat you so bad at pool that you raped me.
He walks up until his chest is touching this other guy, and then he puts the stick behind his back, and then he pushes his pelvis forward into that other guy and takes a shot behind his back. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
So now I guess we should mention that the reason that that they're locked in this pool battle to the death is because he wants Easy 8 to get some famous people to come to a free concert for his church, to save the church. And this is how they're going to settle it. Like, if he wins at pool, then Easy 8 is going to go find famous people for him. And of course, he wins at pool and then celebrates with a nice tall glass of H2O.
There's also a weird moment where just at the beginning where he's trying to challenge them to pool, where he goes, pool was a great way to relax during the ecclesiology and eccastology sections, and I'd beat the brothers. And everyone's like, and he goes, oh no, I mean like the other people I didn't beat African American people.
Brother with an A.
Why did we keep this line in the movie? This is cut.
So awkward.
I'm the director. And also, I just want to point out, watch the extras in this scene. There are some men in this movie who are terrifyingly fat. I'm not a small dude, but there are people in this movie that you're just like, I don't know how you did that. That seems like a challenge. It seems harder than exercise for them to be as fat as they are in this film.
I think that they got extras for this film by going down to the diabetes ward and offering candy as payment.
See, I got the distinct impression they paid everyone involved in this movie with indulgences. So now, because Easy 8 has so much respect for his billiard skills, they're friends, and he invites him over for dinner.
Or he feels sorry for a man who's mentally handicapped.
Yeah, it's one or the other.
Right, and he has this great moment where he goes, why don't you come over to my crib, place, home? And I was just like, is he about to drop an N-bomb by accident? That's what it looked. He was just about to be like, oh my God, I'm sorry, not my word. I should have known. We were playing pool, I got really excited.
So this is when they finally discover that this big star that no one, that they like, when they wrote the movie, they even recognized that no one watching this movie would know who the fuck this dude was. But the big celebrity that Easy 8's got for him is B.B. Winans, who is apparently a Grammy-winning gospel artist.
Grammy-winning. They're like, we're talking Grammy winners here. And I was like, yeah, gospel Grammy winners. Let's not.
Exactly.
They have their own category.
Yeah, I was going to
If
say.
there's ever
yeah,
a podcast award for most masturbations in a single afternoon, I'm going to sweep it, but it doesn't mean that it's not an achievement. It's just they made a thing for me. Mm-hmm. And the award for guy named Eli goes to Eli. Oh, I can't believe it!
So now we go back to the shitty apartment where everybody's unhappy and sweaty. And I do want to say the sweaty daughter was the best part of this movie, but
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Yet another part of the movie Eli jacked off.
Yes, exactly. And so basically they have for the 8th time in this movie the I'm incredibly unhappy, go fuck yourself conversation where she's like, please let me leave, I'm unhappy, and he's like, go fuck yourself. Or go fuck Amadou Diallo. Do whatever you want to do. Go fuck Michael Brown. Who's that guy in Philadelphia who shot and threw a taser onto? Go have sex with him. I don't care. I'm your dad. Bye.
well, and they basically do that too because the mom comes in and I guess the air conditioner's busted or whatever and everybody's sweaty. And mom's like, oh, well, we're sweaty anyway, so we might as well fuck. And so they send their sweaty, attractive, defenseless teenage daughter out into the streets of a low-income neighborhood in Atlanta all by herself.
Right, exactly. And there's a great line where she goes,
time.
I thought we were important. And I wrote in my notes, why? Why did you think that? What about the behavior of this character has made you feel important?
No evidence from your entire life would ever lead you to that assumption.
At which point we get a conversation between Willie and the daughter where Willie learns Willie never met his dad. His brother is dead. No, he's not. And his mom, I was just like, I wrote into notes, his mom got eaten by bears. His cousin got attacked by a mailbox. Like, it's just the classic racist, like, I'm a young black man without a support structure. That's what that scene could have been, just him being like, I lack a support structure. Cut. I get to call cut. Great. Now David's going to be crying again. At which point, her response to, like, his life being really tragic and filled with huge problems is, yeah, I miss, like, the mall.
Right.
And the dude's phone keeps dinging the entire time because the dad's sending them text messages. Are you fucking my daughter yet? Are you fucking my daughter yet? Are you fucking my daughter yet?
Yeah, exactly. So now we get to the bribery scene.
Yes, exactly. So apparently, the evil black man has heard about the concert and he's quite displeased because the last thing he wants is his $10,000 that's owed to him.
Mm-hmm. So instead he's buying a family of 4 tickets anywhere they want to go in the world.
He's going to make so much money by tearing that down and turning it into government-supported housing instead. What a great plan.
Well, but then, like Nick was saying, his solution is to then offer what seems to me far more than $10,000 worth of shit for them to leave.
Yeah, he says, here are plane tickets to anywhere, which doesn't exist.
Yeah, is that a thing?
And enough money to set yourself up when you get there. So basically, he's got an envelope that's got plane tickets to anywhere and $3 million? What do you mean? Set yourself up where you get there when you relocate your life and are never heard from again. That's not like 20 grand.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, certainly more than is owed, I would think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But this guy, he really passionately believes that this neighborhood needs more community housing because of the extreme homelessness problem. This guy's brother became homeless, got hooked on drugs and died, and now he's dedicating his life to doing whatever it takes to make sure that this problem gets solved. And the only block of property that's close enough for him to do this is right where that church is, and he'll spend any amount of money to make sure that he's able to make sure that those homeless people have somewhere to live.
That evil bastard.
That evil son of a bitch.
To which the main character says, oh, really, how much does a man's soul go for these days?
Yeah.
It's like, you're the one who buys and sells imaginary shit. You tell me.
Exactly. I wanted that character so badly to be like, souls aren't real. That's not a thing. I was offering you a bribe for you to do something real. Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll cast a spell on you, and now you have to go. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. Does that work? There you go. Now you're scared. Oh, David thought it was real. Cut. David's trying to burn me again, guys. I said we had to cut that line.
Yeah.
Expecto Patronum. And then we cut in and check out Easy 8's bar, which again looks like you Google translated a description of a bar from Taiwanese into English, and that's what they went with. Bottles, glasses, people drink. At which point, Barack Obama and Easy 8 have a shot of cognac to finish off an Eagle bargain, which, that just for those who don't drink, a shot of cognac to like, seal a deal is like them being like, so, it's agreed. Well, why don't we split this souffle? Good thing it didn't fall. Let's eat this wedding cake and agree on it.
And by the way, they take an entire snifter as the guy takes a snifter full. It's like a pint of neat cognac in a snifter, and he takes this as a single shot. Evil guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Just hire one person who's been to a bar for 20 minutes to consult on this movie.
Right, exactly.
20 minutes.
Oh no, the rest of this movie would be that character throwing up into a bucket. No, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Oh, I want a realistic shot of that where someone drinks that much cognac in the movie and they're just like, oh! Whoa! Why?
Horrible.
Why would I drink that much cognac at once?
Or even if it is a good cognac, like I got given a bottle of VSOP Hennessy, and it was lovely, but like if I drank that much, fucking
Yeah, a
drunk.
cereal bowl
Like,
full would have been a
so
little rough.
drunk
Yeah, the
so
next
quickly,
scene is
right?
him jerking
We
off
found
into a
that-
urinal in the bathroom being
Exactly
like, she
right.
loves it. She loves it. I work at a bank all day. I'm the one who did that stuff to Desi, you know. She had a normal voice until I got her, however.
So, and by the
Cognac!
way, the evil deal that they're sealing with the bucket of cognac is that Easy 8 is supposed to steal the money once they have this concert with big old BB Winans, who apparently knows just random drug dealers in Atlanta, which is interesting.
Yeah, well, listen, let's not... BB Winans came in shiny. There's no way that BB Winans didn't sniff his way
Yeah.
from the beginning to the end of all of his lines in this movie.
Right.
Just line a line on one side of the script and I'll learn my lines by the time I've got to the other. And this is where we have the, Desi gets to wear clothes so she'll be free like a house elf montage.
Holy shit, this was weird.
We've already brought this up several times, but I'm like, there is no way that this could have seemed more like the setup to lesbian porn.
Yeah. She actually does the basic instinct leg cross thing to start it, first of all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then doesn't fuck Lily White. Just absolutely sucked. It's
Well,
Kristen
she make-
Shaw in blackface.
Well, no,
She's getting a
but
makeover
every scene,
on top
every
of blackface.
scene that they're in for the rest of the movie, though, they're sniffing their fingers. So, I mean, make of that what you will.
She gives her a makeover and it looks terrible. This is a lovely actress. She looks fine. But basically what they did is they like shot her in the face with a rouge gun and they were like, there you go, pretty princess. And she was like, I don't know. Am I supposed to be bright pink? Yes. White women and black women wear the same makeup. Here you go.
Yeah, right. And so so now we've already had the scene where the white man teaches her how to speak, and now the white woman is going to teach her how to dress. Anyway, and
I'm
now,
going to teach her how to love.
yeah, exactly. That's really what was supposed to happen in this scene, and it didn't.
So BB shows up.
Yeah, so then BB shows up, but there's no Cece, which is apparently going to cause a riot in Cat Town or something.
Yeah, I wrote in my note, BB without Cece gonna be bad.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, they suddenly realize that the sexy teenager that they sent all sweaty out into the ghetto by herself is nowhere to be found.
Oh, I'm so surprised his neglected and sheltered to the point of abuse daughter ran away.
Right?
What a shock.
At which point, Easy 8 uses his neighborhood watch, which has one white guy, by the way. I love
noticed,
that.
yeah.
He uses his neighborhood watch. He's like, I need a white girl. I want her alive.
And Skinny Doug Benson is like, oh, I got one.
Yeah, I found one.
There's also a very weird moment in this movie. So before Easy finds her, Vina, who it turns out is his mother, we don't know this, goes, find my boy. That's his little brother. So
Right.
this is an incredibly fucked up scene, because not only is she reaffirming to him that he is not her son, but like, find my boy. It's just a very, like, on revisiting the movie and understanding that he is this woman's son and that she's talking it, to go up to someone and say, find my son, is an incredibly cold and horrifying moment. And again, this movie will never address it.
No.
This movie will never, ever address it. It's like if at the end of Chinatown, just Jack Nicholson was like, I don't know, she seemed to get along with her dad pretty well. Anyways, doop. That's what this movie is like. Let the right one in. So that older man just lets you stay with him? Yeah, I don't know. He seems nice. Burned himself with lantern oil for me.
No, unfortunately, because of the frenetic, psychotic pacing of this movie, it's not actually possible to take an Act 3 break like we normally do, because shit just randomly happens in this movie without respect to linear narrative. So there's kind of no point where one part of the movie ends and another begins, but based solely on the runtime, I'm going to say that this is where Act 3 starts, because damn it, I need a break one way or the other. But before we go, I've got to give the final third of the movie the hard sell, so here we go. Will Clayton mutter a single line that doesn't make racially sensitive people cringe? Will the daughter be found naked, mutilated, and lying in a dumpster 40 miles south of the city in the following morning? Will valuable real estate needed to house the swelling population of unemployed single mothers continue to be wasted in a room dedicated to wishing out loud to imaginary people? Find out the answers to these questions and less when we return for the remaining pre-credit portion of Brother White. Senyu Omowaku has appeared in several of the films that we've reviewed, and we couldn't help but notice that the dude never has a name. Well, upon further examination, the problem is much more widespread than we thought. This guy never has a name. So, as a means of demonstrating that fact, I would like to read a selection of Senyu Omowaku's IMDb page.
Burly guy.
Criminal with a K.
Jumbo.
Bouncer.
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 Comedy club bouncer.
Minion.
Tall pirate.
Smoke.
Gangbanger.
Scary guy number 2.
Gang-banging racial anarchist.
And because all rules need an exception, Reggie. He got one name.
Get with me, Senyu. I'll name you Dave. I'll write a script just so I can name you Dave.
I'm Crazy Randy, down here at Hats. Are you a racist caricature in a Christian movie? Well, come on down. We got all the hats you could possibly ask for. We got tiny little bellboy hats. You look like a 1920s bellboy. Not a bellboy in the movie? Does not matter. 1999. How about a cabbie hat? It's a little hat, goes on the top of your head. You can use it whenever you drive. Doesn't matter if your character's actually a cabbie. We got a hat for you. And now, if you ask now, we got a big wide-brimmed straw hat for absolutely free. You can put a little piece of straw in your teeth and some chewing tobacco in your lip, and you can say, "Howdy, Mouser." I don't know if it'll have anything to do with your movie, but the people on set will love it. I'm Crazy Randy. You come on down today. We got $5.99 cabbie hats, $19.99 bellboy hats, and if you buy both, you're getting the straw hat for free, because I'm going crazy.
And we're back for reasons the greatest minds in psychology can't fully account for. When we left off, one scene was ending and another one was starting, because damn it, that's about all this movie gives a person to work with. I believe this was about the time, though, that the concert began. And I want to point out about this concert. Okay, so this church that we've seen, it can fit, maybe if you packed it wall to wall, about 50 people, you think?
Right.
If you're being super generous. They need to raise $10,000 in one night. What the fuck is the ticket price for this thing?
Oh, $5,000 a ticket.
$20. And
So-
they're off by an order of magnitude, very literally.
It's $20 in change they're going to shake out of a homeless person.
Right. Yeah, I got to point this out. Okay, so yeah, the homeless guy that we saw earlier that fucked the chair up by touching it with his disgusting homelessness has brought a Ziploc bag full of pennies and nickels, and they actually take his pennies and nickels rather than just let the poor guy into the fucking concert.
Right, because he's like, I don't know, man. Should we count these pennies and nickels?
That's right.
And Easy Eight's like, no, man, I'm a good guy. Take his pennies and nickels and then let him in. I'm sure it's probably close to $20. What we're gonna do. By the way, I had not heard this man's music, but this man's music is made exclusively for fucking two women at once. So this is this is not music of a religious nature.
It sure didn't seem like it. It was the best part of the movie. But I also want to point out that Jack A is such a good pianist that she starts making drums and woodwinds come out of the goddamn thing in the middle of the song.
Hey,
all of a sudden, there's a whole fucking band
That's
playing.
what she was tuning up. She was tuning
Schroeder's
the
piano from Charlie Brown.
Right.
It's got at most 3 octaves.
And of course, the music is so good that everyone in the theater is swaying except for the white girl.
Yeah, exactly. Who's held perfectly still.
Yeah,
I wrote in my
exactly.
notes, the white people hate this music so much.
No. If you're talking about Lily White, she was just imagining what her and her black friend were up to a minute earlier, like right before they walked out into this church service. She was like, her mind is still where her head was a second ago, pressed up against that black girl's crotch, the secretary.
Yeah, right. I certainly want that to be so. See, I just assumed that they actually had her swing, but she's so white that she was off time, and they were just like, you know what, fuck it, just act like you're not having
You know what,
any
fuck
fun.
it, just hold still. Just hold still, okay?
You can do that,
44 takes. 44 takes.
If you don't move, we'll let you fuck the black secretary again.
So then we get on to Emma, who is apparently running away, so she went to the bus station.
Right. Went to the bus station, because earlier in the movie, Willie has said, why don't you just take a bus back to L.A. from Atlanta, Georgia? And she was like, sure, I don't know how buses work.
You're right, that can't
All
be more
buses
than...
go everywhere, ever. That's not a 7-day trip.
Yeah, right.
So then the dad comes and finds her at the bus station, and she's like, come on, you gotta come back. And she's like, you've been treating me like shit this whole movie. Why do you care? And he's like, I do, all of a sudden, for some reason. Who knows? Come here. So he picks up the daughter.
He didn't say sorry for treating her like shit. She apologized for, being a human being, and he was like, well, stop it, your property.
Back to the concert. So we go back to the concert where Kenny is sitting in his office with the briefcase of money. Now, just to, for a plot point here, and again, the plot of this doesn't matter, but...
Well, I also want to point out, because nobody knows who Kenny
Oh,
is.
Easy 8. Easy 8's real name is Kenny.
Easy
Yeah.
Eight's non-murdered son name is Kenny. That's his
Right,
name when
exactly.
he's not been murdered by his mum's hatred.
His non-slave name.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
like he's sitting there, and I think that in the movie the director was like, okay, so you have to be conflicted about stealing money because you're a black piece of shit. And but like in my mind, that second movie that's running where this guy is the good guy, he's like, that never occurred to him. He's sitting there thinking about his little brother
And his dead dad. He's looking at office that was his dead dad's. He's just sitting there and the guy's like, hey man, you gonna steal that money? What? No!
He's like,
No!
exactly.
I was watching
it never
it.
even occurred to him because he's a good person.
Oh, I like Nick's movie so much more.
Yeah,
Where he's just like,
Wait till
how
the end.
fucking insulting. Alright,
Yeah.
are you gonna keep running, Easy 8? Because running, you don't always get 2 out of 3 in life. What are you talking about? I gathered all this money. I got you the artist. I should get a percentage of this money, and instead I'm giving it all to you. Alright,
Right.
you're a Christian now, so you can have your name back.
No, he's not.
But the white man can save you, E.
This is a very important distinction. This guy has been living his life trying to make his business work, just trying to get by while Christians keep periodically cropping up in his life and shitting all over it. And the only reason that he's decided to stick around this time is because his little brother is getting to about the age where if he took him away from his abusive mother, she couldn't get him back legally. So he's come back into their lives and he's helping out because he's not a shitty person, but he's doing it all so that he can let his little brother know that he's alive and hopefully get him the fuck out of that shitty place.
See, now that's the happy alternative version of this movie, but what's actually happening is that fucking Akunta Kinte is realizing that if he just calls himself Toby, everyone will be happy and he'll get to go to heaven.
Right, yeah, exactly. At which point, A.R. White comes in and convinces him not to steal the money, gives him his name back.
Yeah.
So, because Cece isn't there, which is a plot point of the movie, but is weird because it seems like they wanted BB and Cece. Anyway, it's weird. He goes, oh, here's our new pastor, Pastor James White. So they have this moment where it's very clearly this is his big moment to preach.
Except for, instead of that, he just tells people that Cece's not going to be there, and they start throwing chairs and setting shit on fire.
Right, exactly. They react like everybody in the Nicolas Cage Left Behind. They're like, no, Cece, murder Ray!
Right?
Also, you already have the ticket money. It doesn't matter. People won't be happy, but you've got the money.
Right.
They don't get a refund. We want our money back. No. All right, fine.
But
Yes.
luckily, he figures out a solution, and his solution is to grab that poor little sexy Asian girl from earlier in the movie without asking her permission, without giving her a chance to warm up or practice with the band or anything, and say, you know who can sing is that girl, and brings her
And
up
we
on
know
stage.
because she has sung one note.
Yes,
Literally
exactly.
one note.
Let me point out as well that his public speaking has not improved. He
No.
is still fucking terrible in front of people when he cannot speak to anyone ever. Even when he's winning, he's in his victory moment, and they're like, hey, you've just pulled off doing the thing that you've been setting out to do all along. Maybe you won't be such a loser. And he gets up and he's like, hi guys, just wanted to remind you all that I'm a loser still, and here's a sexy 12-year-old.
And I just want to point out as a performer that is like such an extraordinarily rude fucking thing to do to a person. Just they're sitting in the audience and you've just gotten, keep in mind, like they're making money off of this. They're taking money off of this and then they're just like, oh, this random girl who had no idea she was going to perform, she's going to come up, but she's nice. So she decides to come up and sing anyway or lip
Oh yeah,
sync.
if someone was just like, oh, looks like Cece's not here, so Eli's gonna do some magic for us, I'd be like, go fuck yourself, I don't have any of my stuff.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Come on, get up here and do some, come on. And I'd be like, nope, go fuck yourself.
I get paid to do that, assholes.
I don't do actual magic. I have to
Yeah.
set stuff up. It's not.
So
Can you do the whole water into wine thing? No, I remember what happens the last time a Jew did that shit for you people. I have sensitive hands.
So, and as if that's not rude enough, now we've got the little girl up there singing. She's not singing, by the way. She's lip syncing, and it's really not very good.
Oh, everyone's seeing is 80 yard.
Yes.
Especially Kenny / Easy 8's. Easy 8's voice and lines are so 80 yard, it might as well be my voice.
It's brutal. They're like 3 seconds behind. Yeah.
And like 2 notes in, and he's just had a bucket of horse sweat dumped onto his head.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the theme of the movie. It's probably that vaginal mist.
Oh yeah, because now the secretary's in the same room as the wife again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So the little girl's singing, and now Easy 8, he's standing in the back of the church, and the obvious thing, what's supposed to happen in this movie, or what seemed like it was going to happen, he's a record producer, she's a singer, now he's going to sign the little girl and they're going to get famous. But instead, the movie doesn't think of that. Instead, he just busts into the back of the church and starts singing as loud as he can, singing along with the girl, and I'm thinking, well, that was rude.
And it's my turn to sing now. It's my turn to sing. I wish he couldn't sing and he had still busted in and just been like, and just gotten really quiet and been like, fuck y'all, I stole your money. Credits. So then we cut to, the orange Jew comes in and he's like, hey, you did a good job. Because, the guy from Persecuted, Kingman, has said, hey, you know what? Let's give him another chance, or go down there and check on him. And if he's doing well, then he gets to
Bring
be
him back
pastor.
to the mega church, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Orange Jew is impressed by the concert, so he's like, yeah, you can come back to LA. You don't have to be around black people anymore. At which point we have this weird, like, are you gonna leave moment?
Yeah, so now he wants to go back home to LA to be a mega pastor. And all of the black people are sad because without a white person, they're helpless. And, so they want the magic white man to stay and show them the way.
Right.
And, like, during this whole scene, he just looks so bored. He looks as bored as I am watching him looking bored.
Right.
Right. So then they have this moment where he comes into church and it's empty and he goes, where is everybody? And, this sentient, splurge comes out and he's like, they're waiting for their pastor to greet them. And outside the church, there are millions of people in line waiting to go to church.
Well, but you don't see more than like 6 of them at a time. So you could tell that like the person at the front of the line was running behind the camera and then just getting in the back as they went down.
Yeah, it's like a North Korean or Nazi tank parade.
Yeah,
Where
exactly.
it's like, I don't know, I think that tank is familiar. No, it's just a totally different one. Get him.
Weren't you the first
Here's that
person
guy
in?
right
Only
there.
now you're wearing a hat and a fake moustache. Oh no, that is my brother. Totally different man.
That's someone else.
I also liked Reginald Vell Johnson comes in and he tells this story about a poor fisherman on a beach or whatever. But what he basically does is he completely fucks up the cab driver fallacy. So he's giving him like the worst possible illogical advice that you could give a person.
Right. It's the moral of his story is hard work prevents you from enjoying your life.
Right. So whatever you do, slack off. And that's clearly his dietary advice as well.
Right. I wanted so bad for him to be like, and then the businessman said, but what if there's a day when you don't catch enough fish? And the fisherman said, fuck, good point.
I better get out and get some fish.
I'm gonna go get some more fish, cause saving is, oh, this is why we lost the church.
Yeah.
Oh, gotta save money. This is a bad story. I shouldn't use it anymore.
All of my notes for the rest of the movie are just like noises and actions like erg, vomit, punch self in face. So
yeah, mine got there, but it took one more moment to get there because it was the moment where we revisit the child abuser.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes, remember me? I beat you and my child. I'm in church now. Call child services? No?
No.
All right.
No. We're just gonna, now you're okay because you're in church at this point.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Oh, and they showed the only husband-wife kiss of the movie at the end, and he almost threw up in her mouth.
Yeah. He was like, like when you try and kiss, when your grandma has a beard and you're trying to kiss her cheek without feeling it, you're like, all right, love you, grandma. Mwah. Oh, my balls. I don't think I'm okay.
So this is also the point in the movie where the movie decides to reveal to you that Jack A was Easy 8's mom the whole time. And you know, of course, we've been talking about that throughout the movie, but when it first hits you, when you first realize that, like all of a sudden you realize, oh, wow, this movie just became so much darker and more horrible. So that's what reduced me to onomatopoeia.
Yeah, exactly. The child abuse, and then, oh, by the way, one of the characters in this movie, who we like and is a protagonist, abandoned her son.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Because he wasn't Christian enough. And then he comes up to the thing, and this is where, like, the whole movie has been about how he wants to be a pastor. Apparently he never practices pasting because he's fucking terrible at it. So he gives his little sermon about how sometimes God only whispers, and I wrote down, because God is a hateful, enigmatic dick tumor, why wouldn't he just speak out loud?
Right, exactly. I heard the voice of God in a little girl last night, and in my notes I wrote, a sexy, sexy little girl.
And Easy 8's in the audience with his arm around his little brother, and his mum, like, looks at him, like, during this whole thing, and, like, the look that he gives his mum is, like, you look away, and I'm taking him and cussing. Yeah. Fuck you.
But also, okay, so leading up to this bit, the conflict was, of course, is David A.R. White's character going to stay here in Atlanta, or is he going to go back to L.A.? And he hasn't quite decided, so he's going to make his decision on stage, right? So he comes up and he's doing his stupid sermon, and he says, and I'd like to say that I want to, and then he looks over at his wife and he realizes, oh my God, I almost didn't speak for her on her behalf without discussing it earlier. What a terrible Christian that would make me. So then he corrects himself. We would like to stay here with you guys.
His wife is so happy because she's like, more black vagina! Yeah!
Daisy just stands up and she's like, we did it, honey. And they have a long hug and a kiss, and then they just slowly lie each other down on the floor of the church. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Something about,
There's so
are we still watching Left Behind?
That are within this movie.
I can't stop having night terrors.
But the movie ends, and it's like it's trying to get us out of the theater or whatever quick before we realize that the script never actually resolved anything, right? Because Brother Crick Gypsy still doesn't know how to be a pastor or stand up correctly. The daughter still hates living in the hood. Delcy hasn't worked through her PTSD or whatever, but most importantly, all they did was paid back mortgage. They still don't have enough money coming. So, like, is BB Winans just going to show up every 8 months or so to do another benefit?
Yeah, I mean, that's his community service.
Oh, gotcha. For all the cocaine charges, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so, Nick, as you're aware, we like to avoid how many stars type of rating systems here because none of the movies we review ever deserve any stars. So in an effort to get a sense of your overall impression of this film, I want to offer you a 3-part question here. If this movie was a bodily secretion, A, what secretion would it be? B, what would be the consistency of that secretion? And C, what would it be secreting onto?
Okay, if this movie was a bodily secretion, it would be period blood. It would be chunky, and it would be secreting itself into my mouth, where I would be forced to gargle it, and I would enjoy doing that more than I would enjoy watching this film a second time.
I knew it was going to be menstrual blood. And Heath, I have a similar question for you, but not exactly the same. If this movie was a burrowing parasite, A, what would it burrow into? B, what would it use to burrow? And C, what would it do once it was there?
All right. I guess it would be, one of those spiders that like burrows and nests in your ear.
Uh-huh.
And once it gets there, it makes horribly racist movies. just reads me screenplays by the Kendricks brothers really loud, shouting ethnic slurs
Kendrick
in my ear
Spider.
constantly.
Yeah, there you go.
Really
They all smell different, Heath. You know it and I know it. I'm just saying, watch this video I found on the internet. Read this section of Color of Crime.
And finally, Eli, why the fuck do we keep doing this, man?
I don't know. I think based on the movies that I've seen, it's because we're so mad, and all we need is someone to be like, hey, sunsets, and then both you and I will be like, you're right, sunsets, and then next week it'll be god-awful not movies or whatever. I don't know. Christian.
Yeah.
Too many hugs as kids. Too much book. Too many books.
Must have been it. All right, well, Nick, you made it all the way through, sir, and with a couple of therapy sessions, you should be back to normal. I suppose congratulations are in order, so congratulations.
Well, thanking you very much.
And if our audience just can't get enough of your sexy mustachioed brilliance, where might they go to find some more?
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Nick Morganmore. That's my name. You can also find my YouTube channel. It's called Nick Morganmore. That's my name. And my Facebook comedian page, Nick Morganmore. That's my name. Other podcasts I appear regularly on. I am a regular contributor on the Imaginary Friends show, Dope Comb Podcast. And I'm also one of the voice acty rahi peoples on the Atheist Apocalypse, available on iTunes. I play a gentleman by the name of Kelly Muddesy who loves drugs almost as much as I, not saying how much I love drugs in real life. And if you are in Montgomery, Alabama, search my social medias to find out where I'm going to be doing gigs. I'll be here for a couple months.
Awesome. And of course, we'll have that all linked on the show notes for this episode. And while that's going to do it for our review of Brother White, that's not going to do it for the episode quite yet, because we still need to get you excited about next week's show. So before we wrap it up, we're going to take a few minutes for a quick preview review. So Eli, tell us what's on deck.
Catching Faith.
Our first sports movie.
Very exciting.
But not our last. If you saw our in-house list, you would know how many fucking football teams go Christian movies you have ahead of us.
Yeah, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with this because I'm going to make a lot of like really inside football jokes that Heath's going to crack up at and you're not going to get. It'll be really fun. And I've got to say, like, I'm getting the impression, because I feel like this movie, Brother White, the one that we just reviewed, was the worst one that we've seen since Miracle Man. You know, that like, it's the lowest quality movie. I get the feeling like Catching Faith is going to slide in under that bar.
Well, yeah, they booked Engvall, so there's some budget behind this.
When you have to settle for the least funny member of the blue-collar comedy tour, you know it's a problem.
Not a good sign.
Sorry, we couldn't get Foxworthy. There's a Days Inn somewhere having a luncheon, and he just can't get away. All right, let's get Engvall. What about the guy Tater Salad? No, turns out he's a real comedian. Oh, how terrible. That's so sad.
It's so sad that guy's associated with that horrible tour.
Shit.
So this movie appears to be, from the preview at least, it appears to be about a woman who's in a Who's the Most Christian book club, whose son gets caught drinking alcohol as a member of the high school football team, and the conflict of the movie is about whether or not he should be a snitch.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this movie is supposed to say, yeah, you're supposed to be a snitch.
But I also want to point out, this is true. I timed this. They say the word God 7 times in a 2-minute and 4-second preview. That's once every 18 seconds. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, and not in the way you'd think. It's not like praise God. It's always like, it's okay to be mad at God. God, get your shoes on. We're going to the store. is just, it feels very pushed in.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this preview was meant to be shown at churches so that everyone would be like, okay, don't worry, it's a God movie. You're gonna see footballs and people and faces.
Possibly
and
beer.
Right, you'd be worried that there wasn't a foot. Also, you can already tell how little everyone in this movie is going to know about alcohol because the one shot of beer they have is like 95% foam in a clear solo cup. It's just like, yeah, this is how kids binge drink. Hey man, you want a rum and coke? Let's get hardcore.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see any keg stands in this one. I also want to point out, and this could be, I don't know, but in the preview, you actually see only one football scene, and there are like 11 people in the stands at this high school stadium just like spattered throughout it.
And like 4 people on the football field.
Yeah, right.
It's not a football game.
They're playing rugby.
Apparently. And getting an American rugby audience, too.
Slightly smaller than the Christian movie audience.
Yeah, right. So with all that to look forward to, we're going to bring episode 7 to a merciful close. Once again, huge thanks to Nick Morgan-Moore of the Imaginary Friend Show and Good Advice for hanging out with us tonight. I also need to give a huge thanks to all the Patreon donors that help make the show go. If you'd like to count yourself among their ranks, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/godawful. That's patreon.com/godawful. If you do that, you get early access to every episode, and you get extended editions of every episode. You can also help us a ton by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes and by sharing the show on all your various social media platforms. And if you enjoyed this show, be sure to check out our sibling shows, The Scathing Atheist and The Skeptocrat, available on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever else podcasts live. If you have questions, comments, or cinematic suggestions, you can email godawfulmovies@gmail.com. All the music used in this episode was written and performed by Ryan Slotnick of Evil Giraffes on Mars and was used with permission. If you like what you hear more by following the links on the show notes to this episode. Thanks again for giving us a chunk of your life this week. For Heath Enwright and Eli Bosnick, I'm Noah Lugeons, promising to work hard to earn another chunk next week. Until then, we'll leave you with a guy from Brooklyn telling you to fuck yourself.
Fuck you, you stupid motherfucker.
3 comic book nerds like you and me, Nick, in the audience right now are like, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, Hank Pimp? Is there a pimp in the Marvel universe? Like he has hoes? Oh, that's fun. I read Saga, so I'm actually super into comic books. Go fuck yourself with Saga. Go fuck yourself with Saga. It's bad art and it's bad story. Go fuck yourself.
Fuck you, Eli.
You read Lock and Key. You read Lock and Key and Preacher, and then you talk to me. Oh, this populist comic book shit. Let's explain everybody. Oh, here's your spoon-fed comic books. Oh, here you go, you little spoon-fed. Here you go, it's time for you to have a comic book in nice 50 pages at a time. Don't worry, you won't have to follow anybody's...
body weight in methamphetamine prior to filming and instead made a graphic novel.
You bring your phone everywhere. Work, school, the movies. Now you can bring it to an Xfinity store for an easy way to switch to Xfinity Mobile, a new kind of network designed to save you money. You can get up to 5 lines of talk and text included with Xfinity Internet at no extra cost, so all you pay for is data. It's never been easier to switch to Xfinity Mobile and keep the phone you love. Click here to see how. Sorry, I gotta take this. Restrictions apply. Limited to select mobile phones. Requires activation of a new line of Xfinity Mobile. Up to 5 devices per account. New Xfinity Internet customers limited to up to 2 lines pending activation of Internet service.